Hi, my name is Kristen Hoban, and I'm a health educator with Weller Health Education at Lehigh Valley Riley Children's Hospital. I'd like to thank the Whitehall Rotary Club for inviting me to speak tonight on the topic of COVID fatigue. We're 19 months into this global pandemic, and it's pretty safe to say that everyone is struggling with COVID fatigue in one way or another. So tonight, I'm just going to talk a little bit about what COVID fatigue is, what are the symptoms, and what you can do to try and make yourself feel better. So I'm going to share my share my screen, and we're going to get started. All right, so let's just start with what is COVID fatigue. So it's also been called pandemic fatigue, and it implies that a person has reached their capacity to cope and is experiencing various mental, emotional, and physical symptoms as a result of the constant exposure to the pandemic stressors. So these stressors include obviously social distancing that causes isolation from family and friends. Obviously, the fear of contracting COVID-19, that's huge and very stressful, especially if you have young children who are not able to get vaccinated yet. Virtual school, virtual meetings, that can be very stressful, especially if you are working from home. If you're working from home, you have all of the other distractions from your home life, and doing that multitasking can be very overwhelming and stressful. Grief. There have been many lives lost. I don't really know too many people at this point who don't know somebody who has passed due to COVID-19. So there are a lot of people experiencing grief. And financial stress. COVID has taken a huge toll on many people in terms of job loss, and that's incredibly stressful for families. So all of these stressors, some families are experiencing multiple stressors at one time, and over, day after day, this constant exposure to these stressors really do take their toll on a person, and their capacity to just cope and to just go about your daily lives. It's going to take its toll. So what are some of the signs that you're experiencing COVID fatigue? I read down this list, and I can tell you that I have experienced every single one of them at one time or another, if not all, in the same week. So having trouble focusing, like a brain fog, really common, especially when you are either working from home or having school from home. Because you're in your house and there are all of those distractions, like I just mentioned, you are forced to do that multitasking. And when you do that multitasking, it is very stressful. You kind of think you're getting a lot more done, and you are, but it's actually very stressful for you. So it will lead to kind of like this inability to focus. Being withdrawn from others. Now, even when there was the nice weather and it was the summer, and we were able to kind of go out more and see people, there were times where you kind of felt you still were withdrawing from people, and that is definitely a sign of COVID fatigue. Just even being with folks felt overwhelming. Being quick to snap at people, probably family members, right? Because they're the closest to us, arguing with others, just kind of having that short fuse. A lack of motivation. feeling edgy or nervous. These are really, really common. And, so many folks I've talked to so many people, and I hear this over and over again, just this, excuse me, just this lack of motivation, just really kind of can't get yourself going. And just feeling edgy, feeling nervous. That's normal if you think about what we're dealing with in this pandemic. It is very, excuse me, it is very nerve wracking. We really don't know what's going to happen next. And then being unable to stop the racing thoughts, or what we call intrusive thoughts, thoughts that just kind of like enter your head and just kind of keep going. That can be very stressful for you, especially that happens a lot at night when you're trying to go to sleep. All of a sudden, here come the thoughts, right? So if you have an inability to kind of like relax and get those thoughts to stop racing through your head, that's another sign. And then eating or sleeping more or less than usual. I think this was all of us in the beginning of the pandemic, and we kind of were all isolating and quarantining. So that was everybody. But then, after things started to kind of open up a little bit more, a lot of people kind of are having difficulty getting back into a normal routine of eating and sleeping. So these are all some of the signs. Obviously, not all of them, but a lot of these, you might actually have all at the same time, like I did for sure. I can definitely recognize that. So this, let me just go back a second. So these are all of the, going the wrong way, sorry. Boop, 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 sorry. So it's important to recognize these signs of COVID fatigue. So why is it so important? Now, I started out by saying that pretty much everybody, even our children, are struggling to some degree with COVID fatigue. And why is that so important to focus on? Obviously for our own mental health and our own well-being, but there's another reason why it's important as well. And that's because COVID fatigue actually spreads the virus. So to stop the spread of COVID-19, everyone must follow the health and safety guidelines. But as fatigue sets in, it becomes more difficult to be resilient and make smart decisions. So basically what that means is we are tired. We are getting tired. We're exhausted of following the rules. We're getting beaten down. And if that happens, we start getting sloppy, I guess. We might not put that mask on when we go into the store. We might not, be diligent with our hand sanitizer as we were in the beginning of the pandemic. We might not be making the smartest choices when it comes to our health and safety because we're just tired. So it's important to notice when we are really feeling that fatigue and try to, combat that as best we can. So as history shows us, in the flu in 1918, that's exactly what happened. So the third and fourth wave of people, really getting very, very sick, happened after the people grew weary of the prevention measures and businesses and schools clamored to return to normal. So that's basically what happened. They got tired of it. They were tired of, they wanted to get back to normal. So they did. And they had the third wave and they had the fourth wave. So, that's just another reason why we really have to try to be diligent with keeping our, the masks and getting vaccinated and, following the health and safety guidelines of our communities, our places of employment, and our schools. So it's really important. And I know we are tired of it. We all are. But the only way we're going to stop the spread of the virus is to just keep on being vigilant. So moving on. So before I start talking about what are some of the things that you can do to help yourselves feel better, I just wanted to share this picture with you because I saw it the other day and it stuck with me. Go easy on yourself. You're doing great. This is just really hard. And it's true. This is hard. Go easy on yourself. My motto all last year for my kids was I was cutting them all slack. I was cutting everybody slack. People that worked for me, people in my family, my kids, cutting everybody slack. Myself, cut myself some slack. So I guess this is it means the same thing. It's just this is really hard. And I think that we all need to recognize what we are living through. We're living through a global pandemic. We are 19 months into it and we're doing it, and it is hard. And so we should go easy on ourselves. We should really be kind and gentle with ourselves when we, whenever we can, and with our loved ones and with our children and with those that we work with and that work for us. So I just wanted to start with that because I thought that that's really something important to remember. If you remember nothing from tonight, remember that, because that's the most important message. Okay, so what can we do? So we understand what COVID fatigue is. We understand why we are experiencing it. So what can we do about it? Because the pandemic is here and I don't have the answer to when it's going away. So let's try to see what we can do to make ourselves feel a little bit better. Okay, so the first thing, you have to accept your feelings. Challenging situations such as this pandemic, I would say that's a challenging situation. They stir up a mix of emotions. And so the emotions that we are feeling, helpless, sad, worried, frustrated, irritable, these are all very valid feelings. Ignoring them will not make them go away. Instead, I think that it's really important to acknowledge them, to name them, and allow yourself to feel them. Same thing for your children. Let them feel that. Let them feel sad. Let them feel disappointed for whatever it is they may have missed. They've missed so much. We've missed so much. We've all missed so much. Be disappointed, be angry, and move on. But do allow yourself to feel those feelings. Don't ignore them. Don't, push them away or brush them under the rug. Allow yourself to feel those feelings because they are valid. And, again, it's important to, just accept that, you're feeling this way and you have very good reason to feel that way. So it's important to accept your feelings. Okay, so take care of yourself. This seems pretty, something that, oh yeah, of course we should do this, right? Well, yeah, easier said than done, right? But why is it so important? So a lot of the things here are, again, we think that they are intuitive, getting enough sleep, 8 hours of sleep a night, good sleep, right? Not sleep where we have this screen in our face. Going to sleep with this screen in your face is probably the worst type of sleep that you can get. Waking up and picking this up and is probably the worst way to start your day. And I will challenge you to, I understand that, most of us, we don't have, landlines or whatever, we have these phones by our bed and that's fine. But, I challenge you to put it down, face down, and go to sleep. And then don't pick it up until you give yourself a good hour in the morning before you look at your emails, before you look at your texts, before you look at your work emails, before you look at Facebook, before you look at the news, before you look at anything. Ease yourself into your day, because the starting your day with this onslaught of media is the worst way to start your day. And I really do challenge you to, even if you just do it twice a week, and then you work up to 3 times a week. But I really do encourage you to try that. It's a very, very good habit to get into. So that's my soapbox on that. Okay, so once we can get our devices away, our TV shut off, everything in our room, where we can have good quality sleep, hopefully we can get a good 8 hours of sleep. Eating a nutritious diet, again, so important for our immune system, so important for getting that good night's sleep, because I know if we're not eating well, a lot of times our sleep will be disturbed, maybe through heartburn or anything like that. So a nutritious diet is so important. It just makes us feel good, and it's good for us. Exercise each day. Exercise each day does not have to be a gym membership, does not have to be anything, ridiculous. It can merely be a walk. That's as simple as, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, just something that you are out, maybe just, getting your heart rate moving a little, up a little bit, just kind of getting yourself moving. And all of these things, these 3 will really, really help with your immune system, because we are in a pandemic, and we do want to be as healthy as we possibly can during this time. And when you're getting good sleep and a good diet, and you're moving your body, you are going to feel better. I mean, I promise you, if you are feeling overwhelmed, if you are feeling especially stressed, if you go for a 15-20 minute walk, I promise you're going to come back feeling better. Promise. And right here, be kind to yourself. Again, just be kind, be gentle to yourself. Remember that this is hard, and we are all going through this, and we need to be kind to ourselves and others. Just take some deep breaths. Try to lower your stress level. This is everybody's like, well, how can I do that? I have so much stress. These are things that you can do. These are things that you can actually do. We do programs with very young children in elementary school, and we have them doing breathing exercises. We have them doing meditation, and it's amazing. They'll even tell us how the breathing exercises help them. There are apps on your phone that can lead you through just a several minute breathing exercises. And it's amazing how helpful that can be to just kind of lower your stress, lower your heart rate. It really is helpful. Yoga, if you're into yoga, there's lots of free online yoga classes right now, as well as meditation, guided meditation, walks. Go again out. I cannot stress enough how restorative it is to just take a walk, and to take a walk in the woods, even better. Reading. I'm a big reader. There's nothing better to lower your stress levels than to just escape your reality for a little while and go and to another reality. There's just nothing better. I actually listen to books on tape, audiobooks, and that's fantastic because I can actually walk and listen, and you just are, it really just helps you escape for a little while. I highly recommend that. Listening to music, if you play an instrument, playing music, these are all things that really do help lower your stress levels. And there's something on that list for everybody that you can try to just kind of immediately, bring that heart rate down when you're feeling just really, wound tight. And it's important to do that. remember to do that, because if you're walking around wound tight all the time, it's just not healthy. This one is so important. Limit your news and social media intake. I cannot stress this enough. We are drowning in news and social media. It is in this little device, and it's at our ready all the time. And we need to limit our intake of it. Too much news and social media, it overloads you with negative emotions, and it completely zaps your energy. I have gone on, like, just, times where I will go off of all social media for, I don't know, a week here, a week there. And I'll do that when I'm just feeling like that. I'm just feeling that, everything I'm seeing is negative, or it's just kind of doing that. It's like taking my energy. That's exactly how it feels. It just feels like it's sapping me of my energy. And it's helpful. And then I enjoy social media. I enjoy, connecting with friends and family that way. I'm also a huge fan of TikTok. So I'm not going to say I don't go back to it, but you have to use it in moderation, just like anything else. You have to find, there's always a positive side to social media, and I encourage you to try to find that side and kind of stay on that side if you can. And then news, obviously everybody wants to stay informed. We are, again, living through a pandemic. We want to stay informed on, how things are going with that. And, just in the world in general, we want to be informed. And so, you want to hear the news and read the news. But I do encourage you to make sure that the news that you are listening to and reading, that your sources, make sure your sources are reliable sources, that they're accurate sources. There's a lot of misinformation out there, a lot of sources that are not reliable. It's very easy to, you can look online to find reliable sources. You can actually, Google and find, where a certain news source falls in terms of whether it's reliable or not. So you can do that for yourself to make sure that the news you're consuming is reliable. So I encourage you to do that. And then, limit yourself in terms of what you're consuming. Make a rule. Maybe it's only 1 hour a day, or maybe a half hour in the morning or a half hour at night. But, if you're finding that, you're having just so much overload, and, you're just feeling kind of tapped out by all of that negative emotion, it's time to, shut it down. I think we can kind of all relate to that feeling of, when you're on and you're reading the news or social media, and you're just like, you get all whipped up by it, that feeling. You just gotta close it and walk away, because no good comes of that. And don't read the comments. That's my other piece of advice. Okay, so moving on from that, you want to try to follow a routine. Keep your routine. I know when everybody was in quarantine initially, all routine went out the window. It was it was an interesting time. A lot of people, I mean, I know personally, I will look back on that time almost fondly. It sounds weird, but it was an opportunity that my family had that we never would have had otherwise. I think a lot of people can relate to that. So it was kind of an interesting time, looking for the silver linings, right? In the clouds. But there was no routine at that time. It was crazy. My kids were up all night. It was wild, but that was that time, right? And then that can't go on forever. So whatever that ended, everybody went back to a routine, because it is important to follow a schedule. You want to have consistent meal times, exercise time, try to work that into your schedule. Again, whether it's walks or you're riding your bike, or whatever it is that you do for exercise. Bedtime, try to keep a consistent time that you go to bed and that you wake up. It is really important to keep that consistency. And also, there's so much out of our control right now. It's really such an uncertain time, and keeping your routine, it actually gives you a sense of a little security in your life, because it gives you a degree of predictability, right? It's something that you are controlling and you can predict, and it just really helps us mentally to just kind of have that security in our lives. So just a simple routine. And for children, obviously this is huge. I know last year was not all schools, but a lot of schools were mostly remote. And that was fine. It was fine, but it didn't have a lot of routine, right? Because there was so much time, because they weren't in school, they were home. So they had their class time, but it was still in the house. So routines were all kind of messed up. So now this year they're back in school. There's more routine. So I am seeing a difference, because we do our health educators, our team goes and we go into the schools and we do our health education program. So we are seeing, the kids back on their routines, and we're hearing from the teachers that, it's better all around. So definitely helps to keep a routine. So you want to try to connect with others. Now, I know when you're feeling, kind of down, and it's COVID fatigue, symptoms of maybe withdrawing from others. It's difficult to push yourself to connect with others, but it is important. It's important to try to push yourselves, because humans, we are very social beings. So it is important for us to have actual connection with others. Being alone a lot, isolating, that can be very stressful, just being isolated. So it's very important to keep those connections. In the beginning of the pandemic, we had very little physical contact. There was no vaccine. So, the only time we were out, obviously, was when it was absolutely necessary for groceries, doctor's appointments, things like that. Otherwise, we were quarantining. Once the vaccine came on the scene, that allowed us to, things to open up a little bit more. So we were able to meet outside, once we were vaccinated, to meet outside with other folks who were vaccinated, to, maybe, meet at other people's homes, if everyone's vaccinated. So that allowed us to open, connections a little bit more. But, there are still folks who are not able to be vaccinated due to, maybe they have an underlying health condition. Also, the children, it's soon, the 5-year-olds and up will be able to be vaccinated, but as of right now, they are not. So, I know a lot of parents are keeping the kids, safe at home, and trying not to bring them out unnecessarily, which I totally get. So they're still trying to connect, again, with FaceTime, or doing chats and social media and stuff like that. So there's lots of different ways to try and connect with others, and definitely try to push yourself, especially when you're feeling like you're really withdrawing and you're not really, if it's been a while, and you're just not really feeling like talking, maybe, again, push yourself, maybe just, call a friend or start slowly and just make those connections as best you can. The other thing that's really important is to, when we're doing that self-talk in our heads, to try and keep that really positive. Um, right now, there is a lot of fear and anxiety that everybody is experiencing. And sometimes when we have that fear and anxiety, it makes our minds leap to the worst scenarios, even if they're unlikely. So you might become plagued with the what if thoughts, right? It's kind of like those intrusive thoughts I talked about a little while ago. So it's like, well, what if this? Well, what if that? Well, what if? So you want to try to catch those negative thoughts, as quickly as you can and replace them with more realistic statements in your head. So for example, replacing thoughts about acquiring COVID with what you're doing to stay safe. So, you know, talk yourself out of, if you start kind of going down that path where you're, getting really nervous and fearful that, oh, what if I got COVID and then, this could happen and that could happen, try to cut yourself off at the pass and say, well, but realistically, I'm vaccinated, I wear my mask, I follow, all the health and safety guidelines, so that would be a good example of positive self-talk. So, wherever you can, try to practice that because again, we are all experiencing a lot of fear and anxiety around the pandemic and, in other parts of our life as well. So this is just a good habit to get into because it can really, when you just start down that path, like I said, that those negative thoughts and those what if thoughts, they can really kind of spiral out of control. um, so, those are all of the suggestions that I wanted to cover in terms of, what we can do to try to make ourselves feel better, to try to, combat some of that COVID fatigue. But again, I get it. We all are struggling and we have been struggling. We're, again, 19 months into this. And I don't think when this all started back in March of 2020, I don't think that, I mean, I can only speak for myself, but I don't think that any of us really thought that maybe this would go on this long. I don't know. But, this hasn't happened before. This is all uncharted territory. And so we are all just doing the best that we can. We are doing the best that we can for ourselves, for our families. And, we are tired, we are exhausted, but we have to stay vigilant. We've got to keep doing the right thing, and we're going to do the right thing and hope for the better future because the steps that we take today are going to determine the outcome. So, again, we are experiencing this COVID fatigue, adults, children, everyone has some level of COVID fatigue at this point. So, we recognize that and we definitely need to be kind to ourselves, be kind to those around us, be patient, make sure that we are doing everything that we can, make sure that we are staying informed, that we are, just, being smart about the decisions that we make for ourselves and our family. And just, again, stay vigilant and, hopefully we will all, be better for it. And we're going to come out of this, all all be changed. We all will be changed. And we will be changed. I'll rather leave it at that. So, Something I do want to leave you with, though, is when to seek mental health support. So, we talked a lot about feeling anxious, fearful. A lot of those symptoms that we covered in the beginning are also symptoms of depression. So, if you're struggling with persistent feelings of anxiety or depression, you like more than you think is if you're really starting to become concerned about that for yourself, you definitely want to schedule a time to talk with your primary care provider or a counselor. And also, if you or a loved one has thoughts of suicide or you need urgent mental health support, the following resources are available to you. So definitely make note of the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, also the crisis text line and the mental health support line. These are three resources that I believe every house should have on every home should have on their bulletin board or their refrigerator, especially any home with children or teens. It's very important that those resources be available to everyone. So I'll have those there. So okay, so that is all I have for you tonight. Again, I want to thank the Whitehall Rotary Club for inviting me to speak to you tonight about COVID fatigue. I know we covered a lot of information tonight. I hope you learned something. I hope that you utilize some of the suggestions that I offered this evening. And yeah, everybody just stay vigilant and stay well. Thank you.